Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Struggle Bus Podcast, Episode 5. This week on the bus, for the Eagles, Jeffrey Lurie. I don't know about Dave, but he really screwed up this week for me. After winning one Super Bowl, he thinks he's all that and then some. For the Sixers, Seth Curry. It's a shame he screwed the team's record for a few games, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and his name is Tyrese Maxey. For the Flyers, Carter Hart. If you watch the game, you know exactly why, and nothing more needs to be said. Finally, for the Phillies, the entire organization. They haven't done much, and that's a problem. With the team they have, the last thing they should be doing is nothing. Speaking of needing to make big moves, Dave, what do we think about Doug Pederson being gone?
I mean, ultimately, I like it. You know, Doug had, my God, it was a bad season. And while you can put some blame on the players, a lot of it's got to go to him too. There's so many instances of just terrible play calling. I felt like he went away a bit from his like risk it all personality. I I think it just goes to show that like Doug cannot perform well as a head coach in this league without a good offensive coordinator. If we had a good offensive coordinator like we once did with Frank Reich, I felt like he would have been fine here. But once we lost him, it was a downward spiral for him. And I think it finally culminated this year. I felt like Jeffrey Lurie made the right move.
I don't know how you can say that. I honestly don't. I mean, this guy brought a starving city a Super Bowl. It's that simple. And that was only what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago at this point? You know, and now he played. There was one season. In two of the seasons, we got to the playoffs, and
We got
then
we got to
this
the
season,
playoffs three
three
times.
seasons, yeah. So we get to the playoffs three times, and then one season we don't, and he gets cut. Like what? Like to me, it seems like we've been spoiled a little bit. We had a taste of the limelight. But I mean, we've stuck with coaches forever. When we've bombed. And now that he's a good, and I know I mentioned this a few other times, but his play calling didn't change when the quarterback situation switched from Carson to Jalen. He was the same guy. He was calling the same plays, and
Oh,
I yes, I
were you
yes,
watching the games?
yes, I was
I don't think
actually.
you were.
I think I was. Regardless, that's the same guy calling those plays. They may not have been the same plays. All right, I'll give you that. They might not have been the same plays. The same guy giving the plays. And for the first game, it worked. For the second game, it worked. Jalen Hurts did well under Peterson. Now the last game was a bit of a mess, but you know, um, I think he's a good coach. I think he is. I think he can work with people, and it's a shame that we didn't give him more time. Um, yeah, it's a shame we didn't give him more time. I would have liked to see what he could do with Jalen Hurts.
I mean, I disagree with about everything you just said because his play calling was the most repetitive thing I've ever seen. Like I said this maybe our first or second week doing this, that watching him coach the game, it feels like I'm coaching the game while playing a game of Madden with my slim playbook out. It's just
Yeah.
the same plays over and over again. The same wide receiver screens that don't work ever. They work like 1 out of 20 times. And even when they do, they get like 5 yards at max. Uh, he kept calling the same plays over and over again that didn't work. In terms of Carson Wentz to Jalen Hurts, that transition, he did completely change how we called those games, just like he changed when Carson went out and the transition to Nick Foles. It's a
Mhm.
completely different way that he calls those games. And partially is because Jalen Hurts has a bit more running ability, but that's not everything. He
Uh,
changes the way he calls the games. And he refused to do that for Carson. He had his expectations way too high, wouldn't work around Carson at all, but worked around these other quarterbacks. And also Jalen Hurts, it only worked the first game because nobody had film on him.
mhm.
Once we started like getting deeper into this, eh, he just completely shut down and was not the quarterback we saw against the first two teams we faced with him in. It's completely different games because the other teams actually know what to expect. They can just sit a linebacker on him on a QB spy. They know his tendencies. They're looking for the things that they didn't know to look for the first few games. So Doug did absolutely nothing to help the transition between them two. It's not his reason why it went well for that first game. It, he was a good coach for a bit. But the reason why he worked in this town and the reason why we got that Super Bowl was because of Frank Reich calling the offensive plays. Doug Pederson brought an extra aspect to it. He brought his more gambling on fourth downs and much more risky plays that we've grown to know and probably love from him. But he had so much less effect on the offense than Frank Reich did. And this is Doug without an offensive coordinator. He can't make it in this league.
I don't know how you can say that. I don't know how you can say that. It's not like he had minimal impact on us winning the Super Bowl. I mean, he
had
you
a
know,
bit. Like I said,
it was a lot more than a bit.
A bit, because he's not out here calling the plays. He's not out here controlling the offense completely. He's just every once in a while going, okay, let's go for it here. I mean, the Phillies, especially, greatest play in our sports history. But I'm not saying he didn't have an impact on the Super Bowl. If we didn't have Doug, we probably would have won the Super Bowl. But guess what? That was, 2017. He worked for us then. What's he doing for us now? We can't live in the past forever. What's he doing for us right now?
No, we can't live in the past forever, but we can recognize that, he's he got us to the Super Bowl. He brought us to the playoffs 3 times. Clearly, there's something there. He knows how to coach people. It's there's proof there. It's not trying to live in the past. It's saying, okay, well, this guy, that he has a track record. And as far as he's not going to make it in this league. I think he's going to get a job pretty easily. And I think with if he takes a year off of coaching or doing whatever the heck, the reports are saying, he comes back, I think he's gonna have a job waiting for him wherever it is, But I don't see how you can say he's not gonna make it in this league. And I think the fact that he knew to coach Carson differently than Hurts or to coach Carson differently than he did Foles, that's all. He's a smart guy. He knows. Okay, he knows what he's doing. Okay. Now, I am not absolving him of 90% of the blame here. He had a rough season. I'm not going to dispute that. But does it warrant firing? Not really. I don't think it does. I really don't think it does.
Look, I mean, you mentioned, him getting another job. He will get another job. Absolutely, he's going to end up with another job. Probably in a couple of days, he's going to have another job. Mm-hmm. Because again, I think he's decent. If you can pair him up with a good offensive coordinator, he can be a good head coach. But once you take the offensive coordinator out, I think, what are we going to get from him? An even record. And some of those years that we made the playoffs, first of all, we made them at 9-8 and 7-9. It's not that we were a good team. It's that the NFC East sucks. That's why we made the playoffs a few of these years. And it's not because the offense that we made the playoffs either. The defense was out here carrying this team for how many years now? Yeah. The defense is absolutely been the staple of this team, not Doug's offense. That hasn't done it. It's been the defense that's got us to the playoffs.
But it was Doug's offense that took us to the Super Bowl that one time.
Yes, that one year. And you know what? Who got us to that first point? Carson Wentz got us that home field advantage that would get us there. And then Nick Foles came in and played outstandingly. And Doug changed how he called the game to fit Nick Foles. Mm-hmm. And he refuses to do that for Carson Wentz. He refuses to base how he calls the game around Carson's strengths and abilities and weaknesses. But he does that for other quarterbacks. And that's why he's got to go. And that's why Jeffrey Lurie let go of him, because Jeffrey Lurie wants Carson Wentz in here. He wants to run with Carson. The reports came out that Doug didn't. Doug favored Jalen Hurts. That's why he's not here anymore, because he could not accommodate what Carson needs with a head coach.
I don't think I think the basis of that logic is wrong. Not your logic, but just keeping Carson in the first place. I think we're gonna sacrifice a lot for him. I think we're gonna throw like we're throwing out a coach, we're throwing out a bunch of other people, and it's all gonna be to try to save face for the mistake that they made for Carson in signing him way too long for too much money. Well, not at the time it wasn't for too much, but giving him such a long deal for so much money, and I think the organization is going to take a big hit next season and probably for seasons to come because we're going to invest in a failed investment in Carson Wentz. I think I can't tell, but I'm inclined to believe that this is them covering for the mistake that they made of Wentz and seeing that. But I wanted to ask a question. So, um, as I was saying, like, oh, Doug Peterson brought us to the Super Bowl once, and you kind of not discarded, but disproved the idea that the playoff, our playoff spots meant anything in the previous years. What's the difference between Peterson and Wentz at this point? Because the same argument of, oh well, Wentz was good this year, or was good not this year, 2017. He was good in 2017, and he was decent leading into the other years, and now he's dropped off this year. Why is it worth saving Carson when Doug's got that same background of he was good in the when we won the Super Bowl, and he was decent the years leading past that, and this year he took a big tank. Why don't we save? Why are we not throwing? Well, I mean, obviously money's involved, but regardless of that, why are we not either keeping both of them or throwing both of them away?
Because I believe that Carson Wentz can still succeed. And, you know, you were out here calling, a bad investment. I won't call it a bad investment. I'll call it a questionable investment. But I believe that Carson Wentz can still succeed with this team, but he needs a good offensive coordinator. The same thing happened with him, Loses Frank Reich. They were really close. They worked really well together. Loses Frank Reich. Doesn't have great seasons anymore. It's because the way Doug that calls it. I mean, a lot of stuff that Carson does is great, but then he also has a lot of stuff that's bad. He's
Mm-hmm.
had that fumbling problem forever. Some of the he tends to not be able to get rid of the ball in time. Some of his decision making not the best.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at it in terms of we have a quarterback or a coach, you know, Carson had MVP potential, and he
Mm-hmm.
still might if paired with the right people. You need to choose the quarterback over the coach at that point. Doug, I mean, he's not an elite coach, he's a good coach, again, with an offensive coordinator. But Carson can be an elite quarterback. You're just kind of like, it's as if you have a scale. You just kind of have to balance which one, weighs more and will help out the team more, the quarterback or the coach. In this case, I believe it's the quarterback.
Yeah, I I just disagree. I mean, that's all it is. I think Hurts is the way that this team should have gone. Um, but I will ask. So you brought up that Doug Peterson needs to be coached with a good or paired with a good offensive coordinator. Um, there are reports that Jeffrey Lurie wouldn't. Doug Peterson couldn't pick his own staff. There was all Jeffrey Lurie placing people in there. Um, you know, so at that point, would it be Doug Peterson being trapped in a failed system? Because that's Lurie's responsibility. If he's not letting him pick any of the staff, well, then that's all Lurie's staff. So then at that point, it's Lurie surrounding Peterson with the wrong people.
I mean, if you say it like that, I mean, it could be, but look, I mean, it's as simple as looking at it like this. Without that offensive coordinator, he failed. He needed to go. You know, you can have those same arguments with Carson, but he's still here. And if our owner favors him, then we're going to end up with a coach that will work with Carson Wentz first. And then if he fails next season, or like first 5 games of next season, then we'll probably see a transition to Jalen Hurts. But for right now, Doug's gone. Carson's still here. Jeffrey Lurie has decided which investment he places more value on, and that's just what we're going to have to go with.
Yeah, I'll call it right here. I think it's going to go down in flames, but Um,
Well, we're just gonna have to wait and see.
yeah. All right. Well, there's obviously we're gonna need a new coach at that point. I believe today Deuce Staley goes in for an interview. What do we think? Where do we see this going?
I mean, with Deuce, he's the one guy that I want to be the coach of this team. In this city, the people that know him, are pretty much just all love for him. And I know with the team, it's nothing but respect.
Hmm.
Um, he's been with his team for quite some time now.
Yeah.
He knows the system, he knows the personnel. I think he'd make a great head coach. And if not a head coach, I'd like to see him as the new offensive coordinator. I think he should get a promotion either way, whether it be head coach or OC.
Uh huh.
But we need to do something with him. He's got a lot of talent, and I think we need to use it.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I definitely think an internal hire would be better, uh, for either position. But um, I mean, I don't know. There's just too much up in the air at this point. And to take that path of putting him at head coach and then looking for an offensive coordinator, or putting him at offensive coordinator and looking for a new coach, there's a ton of possibilities that that really there's no. This is a lot less clear to me than uh, the whole whether we should have kept Doug and all this stuff. This decision to who to put there. It seems a lot more. There's a lot more options for success here. There's not just like one way to go.
I mean, and another thing you have to consider when you do fire a coach, you need to have in mind who's out there that could possibly replace them.
Mm-hmm.
When the Sixers fired Brett Brown, you know, I liked Brett. I thought he was. I think he's a good coach, and it made me nervous for a good week there because the front runner for the job was Tyronn Lue.
Uh huh.
He's an absolute joke of a coach, absolute joke.
Uh huh.
That would have been a bad decision at that point to fire Brett Brown because we would have been going backwards with the
Yeah.
coaching. You know, it's okay to get a coach out, but you got to be moving up. You got to move
Yeah.
forward. That's what they eventually got with Doc Rivers, and
Mm-hmm.
we just got to hope that we move forward as well here too.
So do you think they're eyeing up Deuce Staley? You think the Eagles organization is, or you think they got their eyes on another coach somewhere else?
I mean, I think they have to have their eyes on him. Again, with being here for quite a long time and knowing personnel, and it'd be a lot smoother transition.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, you've seen the list of candidates. It's a very long list.
Yeah.
They're interviewing
Like I
people
said, we
from
got.
around the league. They're interviewing college coaches.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said, it's really just up in the air. If I'm
Yeah.
being real, I don't know how this is gonna go.
Yeah. It'll definitely be something to keep our eyes on. All right. Well. Uh. On to the Sixers, I guess. What do we they played a few games this week. Uh, Unfortunately understaffed because Seth Curry tested positive for COVID, and then things kind of went downhill from there. Um, but what do we think about that? But how do we think the team played? Because at first I was really disappointed. Not being able to see, especially because we were on a hot streak. Not being able to see Ben or Joel play. But then um, they kind of weren't the worst games in the world to watch. I thought we were going to get blown out of the water, but then we come back and you know, especially the game against the Heat. I mean, that was something else. But what do you think about that whole thing?
I think quite a few of these games were tough to try and watch.
Yeah,
Not necessarily because like we weren't competitive, but because we were running with 7 people.
yeah,
I, you know, the game, at least 2 of those games should have been postponed.
yeah,
And I don't know why they weren't, because if we're looking around the league right now, there's been multiple games this week that have been postponed.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so I don't know why we're not getting the special treatment that the rest of the league is. I'm Those games should have been postponed. They shouldn't have been played. We probably took a few losses that we wouldn't have taken otherwise.
yeah.
Um, but even with that, we did get an opportunity to see a lot of younger talent,
Mm-hmm.
and some of those younger talent have really good games.
Yeah.
Especially Tyrese Maxey.
Oh,
Man, he
beautiful.
looks good, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does, and he can do more than just put floaters up. Um, it was great. Uh, him running for 39 points the first game. I mean, you know, depth is what we need right now. I think we've got a good top five. We just need people to cover for that. We spent years building to get our lineup, our starting five to be good, and now we gotta, we can't just stop there. We gotta start going for the second line and making sure that when those guys are out, we can still potentially win a game. And the fact that Tyrese Maxey went off like this is crazy good. I think it's going to give him a lot more confidence. And it gave him, I always love watching games where you're the underdogs to the point where it's like it don't matter, but that you're still competitive. Like not a blowout for us, but we lost, but there was a good loss. We got some guys, some experience, and in the long term, I don't think it's going to matter too much just because I see us winning a lot more games than, you know, two or three losses at the moment are going to screw up for us.
I mean, I'd also like to say, um, if we're looking at point guards with Tyrese Maxey,
Uh huh.
you know, Ben Simmons has had another disappointing year. He's posting triple doubles. That's great. He's not scoring that much. He's averaging, high turnovers, like very high turnovers.
Uh huh.
Um, you know, should we be looking, maybe not this year, but like next year, like to maybe move Ben if he doesn't improve again? Because
Wow.
because if we have somebody like Tyrese Maxey that can come in and take that role
Uh
and
huh.
spread the floor, you know, maybe we should be looking in to see what we could get from Ben. Whether that be a couple role players. I mean, I'd hope it be better than a couple role players, but maybe we can get a bit of a haul out of him. Couple role players, couple picks. Who knows what we can get?
Wow. So quick to judge. How many games did they play? Did they play like 9 games this season so far or something?
We haven't played too much,
That's wow. That I
but
did
look,
not expect
it's the
that.
same Ben Simmons that we've seen since his rookie season.
Yeah.
You know, he just I'm frustrated with it because it just like he's not improving, and I don't necessarily need him to take that outside shot all the time. I keep preaching if he's open, he's going to take it, and he has so far. But he's made no effort to cut down on the turnovers.
Uh huh.
Even when he drives, he misses a layup every other time. It's just at what point is he more negative to the team
Mm.
than what he brings positive that we couldn't have with Tyrese?
But why would so? Why don't we pull like a Carson Wentz here, right? Like, so he's not doing too hot. Let's move him down to the second line. Bring Tyrese Maxey up, then see if it'll give him motivation to do that. Like, do you think it would be better or more useful to instead of thinking like, I mean, don't get me wrong, we could probably get a lot for him. He's a really good player, but would it not be more beneficial to stick him down a second line or sit him for a game and be like, you know, work on it, you know, and then have him come back and be potentially better or even just on the second line, like if you've got two-star guards, then why would you just give that up?
Yeah, I mean, he brings a good amount of talent to this team, but you also got to look at the contract. He's
Uh-huh.
making a lot of money, a lot of money that could be used elsewhere.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'm not saying that we necessarily should trade him. I just think we should just toss his name out there, see what the rest of the league thinks, see
Uh-huh.
what we could maybe get from him. This year, don't do anything about it. Keep this team as is this year. This team looks really good. You
Uh-huh.
keep them as is. You don't want to tip anybody off. You just want to keep it as is. But after the season's over, if Ben by the end of the season hasn't even shown to like try and improve and average more than like 12 points a game, you know, and 6 turnovers, then we then we start looking at what we can get from him, because if we could, realistically with Ben, we could trade up for like a number one pick in a draft. So
Uh-huh.
if there's somebody out there, in next year's draft that we might like really want,
Mm-hmm.
or could be just an incredible player, maybe we pull the trigger.
Hmm. For James Harden? Question mark?
No,
Well, he's gone now. He's over to the Knicks. So if I remember correctly, you're pretty happy about that.
not the Knicks, the Nets, but
The
yes,
Nets. Oh my
yeah,
goodness. Yeah, the Nets.
I'm very happy about that. Not in the sense that we get to keep Ben Simmons. That's just there. But
Damn.
but in the sense that James Harden isn't going to come here and mess up this team. Right
Uh-huh.
now this is the best team in the league. To me, we are the team to beat this year, and I know we're not, but we should be favored in winning the title this season. With a
Wow.
team that we have and how everybody complements each other, this
Hmm.
team should be favored this season. And thank God we didn't do anything about it, because if we would put James Harden in there, then we just have two giant superstars that would dominate the ball.
Yeah, they butt
And
heads.
exactly, they just butt heads all the time. And James Harden, that's a toxic personality that we do not need here in
Uh-huh.
Philly. You
Yeah.
don't need that kind of a personality in these locker rooms.
But we're a toxic people though. Like it would
We are, but not that type.
uh-huh.
Not that type.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Um okay, well, on that, would it be okay, I'm gonna go back to Ben Simmons for a second. Um, would trading him ruin the chemistry of the team? Would getting him out of there ruin the chemistry that we have right now?
Maybe, maybe not. That's why I'm saying, don't do anything this season.
Yeah.
We let this season play out. It's a lot easier to do, like, to make adjustments and rebuild chemistry in the off season. If you do
Yeah.
it in the middle of the season, it could screw everything up. So
Hmm.
you just stay away from it. Just put them out there, maybe on the down low, and get some
Yeah.
rumors out there. But you want to keep the team the same this season. You want to keep
Yeah.
the chemistry there.
Yeah. Well, I do remember seeing a report that both Doc Rivers and Ben Simmons were happy that um they weren't, he didn't get moved. Um, so clearly Doc Rivers sees something in Ben Simmons that he likes, or maybe he sees him trying to improve, or maybe he sees some sort of spirit that, we don't have access to right now. But um clearly there's something in there that doesn't warrant, rumors about, him not improving or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if Doc Rivers sees something, I mean, I hope he sees something. Um, Ben Simmons has a lot of potential, and
Yeah.
when we were first, even before we drafted him, it was always rumored that he'd be the next LeBron James. He has that physique, he has the
Yeah.
athleticism, but quite frankly, I don't think he's put in the same amount of work that LeBron has put in,
Jesus Christmas.
and that's
Maybe
just
he
how it
does.
is.
Oh my
Do you
goodness.
do you think do you think LeBron or Kobe or anybody that actually like dedicates themselves to this game 100% would have gone like 5 seasons without having a reliable jump shot?
No.
Absolutely not. A
No.
reliable free throw? Absolutely not. Cut down on the
No.
turnovers? Absolutely not. Like
Yeah.
if Ben Simmons really like cared about this game the way that some of these people I've named do, you know, we wouldn't be talking about this right now.
Mm-hmm. Holy crap, dude. You're throwing out a lot right now.
And this
But
wasn't even on the schedule.
no, it wasn't. But hot damn. Okay. Well, maybe we'll just call LeBron and then tell him to smack some sense into him or something. Um, but speaking of teams to beat, the Flyers are looking quite promising. They had their game Wednesday night, which is a few days ago. They played tonight against the Penguins over in Pittsburgh. Um, I loved what I saw. Now, before we go into this conversation, I would like to preface that the Penguins were not anywhere near. Um, I don't say anywhere near. They weren't good. It was rough. It was rough on their part. Their defense was rough. Um, their offense was good as it should be. They've always had a pretty reliable offense. Unfortunately, with Sidney Crosby, as much as I can't stand that guy.
I'm with you
But
there.
their defense, the defense was rough. So the fact that we got 6 goals doesn't really surprise me because they kind of I don't say threw in the towel, but it got a lot worse as the game went on. But yeah, I mean, 6-3 win with 11 out of our 12 forwards getting goals. Um, you know, our offense looks great. Our defense looks decent. Our goalie looks decent. You know, I like what I saw.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm with you. I liked what I saw overall too. Um, the good for me was the offense. Thought the offense did a really good job, especially with the power plays.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've talked about this before last season. I was a big downfall in the playoffs. Power
Yeah.
play, it was tough. You'd almost like when you see them get ready to go for a power play, just I wondered like, why can't we just say no, 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 we don't want that. We're good here on 5. We don't need a power play because we would
Uh,
have been better off with just the 5-on-5s. Um,
exactly.
but the power play looked really good this time. Um, I'm a real sucker for some good deflections, and we had a couple of those early on in the game. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, overall, it looked really good to me, offense wise.
Yeah. And you can't rap on defense too much. I mean, out of the 3 goals that we had, one of them was where we left the guy standing in the front of the net, which is unacceptable. I mean, that's just terrible. I mean, that guy was backdoor all day long, and it doesn't take much to recognize that that's the case, and the Penguins capitalized on that. Second goal, we don't talk about that. Um,
We're gonna
listen,
talk about that.
listen, man, that was hard to watch, and that's literally the only reason I've put Carter Hart on the bus this week.
Mr. Number One on your Phillies
He
sport
is.
ranking list.
Listen, everybody makes a mistake now and then. I don't want to hear it, but but you know, they got too confident. Everybody's been hyping him up, which fair play, they should. But it got too confident, and I'm glad it happened in the game where it didn't matter. We had a 3 goal cushion, so um, got it out of his system. Hopefully, he'll be a little bit not as dumb next time he tries to do something like that, especially with Sidney Crosby. I mean, you don't just throw the puck out in front of that guy and expect
No,
it to go right
yeah.
by him. So, um, so yeah, and like you said, power play. I mean, the fact that the first 2 goals were off the power play, it was great. It's going to get tougher as the season goes on, though, because people are going to have film of us being decent on a power play, and also we're probably going to play teams with a better defense than the Penguins. So, but that was great. And as far as the offense goes, the depth, dude. I mean, it was great. You've got Raffle got a goal, Lindblom got a goal, Nolan Patrick got a goal. I mean, Patrick and Lindblom are the 2 big names on this list for goals, just in the sense that they didn't. I don't want to say they didn't do anything, but they weren't here last season. Nolan Patrick was injured, missed the entirety of the season. Oscar Lindblom, obviously, got cancer, was out for the rest of the season, was able to come back. And to see those guys not really skip a beat and just kind of get right back in it, well, Lindblom's goal was kind of off of his shirt. He couldn't really do anything about that. But still, it was great to see. They're getting involved, scoring points. Farabee scoring 4 points was phenomenal. Most points in the league right now. His chemistry with Gustafson and just everybody else is you know, this is what I wanted. I remember the first podcast we had was I was talking about the chemistry and wanting to keep the team the same, and that's exactly what they did. They added the people they needed to add. We brought Lindblom and Patrick back, and it's been great. And this is only one game, and it could go very wrong very fast. But you know, they kept the team the same. They built up that chemistry even more than it was, and it's great to watch them play. Um, the only other thing I got is that the passing was it was good. The passing was good, except well, that's more just whiffs and stuff. But the passing was good. Um, but we did do some confident things that kind of screwed us in the end, um, especially on the defensive side.
Um, and you briefly touched on the depth of this team.
Yes.
And I just like to say, when we were prepping for this
Uh huh.
and we went through their lines,
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, they had JVR and Voracek on the third line.
Yes.
It's absolutely remarkable and still blows me away.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the amount of talent they have on this team, it's incredible. It
Yeah.
really is incredible. And I mean, they could be in for a very, very good season and possibly a deep playoff run.
Yeah. We are second most likely to win our division behind the Bruins, but hopefully we get to prove them wrong. Um, but yeah, and as far as nitpicking goes, Hart obviously, making that dumb play was dumb. Uh, and on defense, we just got to get better. I don't know how they play their defense, but if you're playing man and your guy is the one that scores that backdoor goal, right off the bat, that's just unacceptable. Playing man, you should be nudging that guy. You should be cross checking that guy. You should be getting in his way, tying up a stick any way you can in the front of the net because that is the most dangerous thing. You know, so I don't blame Hart for that one. I don't blame Hart for the third goal either, where I don't remember who it was, but it was on the right side of the rink, and somebody tried to make a pass into the center and whiffed, and the Penguins got a hold of that. I mean that happens, but at the same time, you just kind of gotta be better. Because then that led to a cross ice pass and then a really nice shot into the net, even though it pains me to say. So, Hart, the only thing I have for him is that, you know, just make that better decision from behind the net. You got to be more decisive and not make that dumb of a decision. So, but overall, it was nice to see. And I hope that all of these trends, with the exception of dumb decisions, continues into tonight's game.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, though I guess it's Phillies time now, isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Oh boy. All right.
Take it away.
So I mean, we've made some moves. I kind of disagree with Dom here, with them not really doing anything. But
Well, negligible. It's all negligible.
I mean, so we just recently signed Archie Bradley, 1 year, 6 million. It's a
Mm-hmm.
solid move. It's a solid pickup. He's been in this league for a bit. He's a proven reliever. What's going to happen when he comes here? I feel like I was saying this every week now. We pick up a reliever. They might come here. They might just, get the Philly curse and have a 5 ERA.
Uh huh.
But ultimately, Archie Bradley, good pickup. I like it. We also picked up various other relievers, mostly the minor league deals. Um, Basically, just guys that throw hard. That's the best way I can put it without going into like every single one. We're picking up a lot of guys that throw hard, which is very valuable in baseball. And we haven't really had that here in Philly. You know,
Okay.
I mean, in our pen, like Sir Anthony Dominguez, he throws pretty hard. And other than that, not really anybody. Um, in our rotation before last year, when we picked up Zach Wheeler, we didn't have anybody in our rotation that threw really hard. Um, so it's good having that bit of a mix. Um,
But my thing is, why are we not focusing on starters right now? Because I mean, starting pitching was an issue last season. We've
as
got
bad as the bullpen.
still. I mean, as much as a bullpen is important, and I'm not belittling the importance of the bullpen at all here, but the starting pitching was still pretty rough last season, if I do remember correctly. And we've got Nolan, we've got Wheeler, but why are we not focusing on starters?
I'd say because we probably have at least, I mean, Nola Wheeler and Spencer Howard, who we called up last season, they're all going to be there. They're all going to be probably our top three. After
Uh-huh.
that, Zach Eflin, he's hit or miss. I'd like to see him in the rotation again. Um, we kind of do have a spot to fill, but the thing that we absolutely need to be working on is the bullpen. The bullpen was the reason, like, forget about the starting pitching for a moment, because, there were multiple games where Aaron Nola would go like, 6 innings and allow nothing. And we'd
Mm-hmm.
be up like five. And then the bullpen would come in and we lose that game 10-5.
Yeah.
Like, the starting pitching can only get you so far into a game.
Yeah.
Bullpen is just as important as starting pitching is, and it needs to be addressed. and needs to be addressed more. So I do like they're at least looking at it. They're at least trying to solve the problem. And we got Alvarado, I think, last week. This week we get Archie Bradley. They're trying to solve the problem, and I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Outside of those moves, pretty much immediately when we stopped filming our last podcast, we decided to pick up Christian Bethancourt to a minor league deal and invited him to spring training. Uh, Good move. You could take it however you will. You could take it that they don't think they're going to re-sign JT, maybe, and that's why they're trying to invest in other catchers. But I just like to take it at face value. I like that in case if we do end up losing JT, we are looking at possible backup options.
Mhm.
Because Andrew Knapp is solid, and he might make a decent starting catcher.
Yeah.
Might make a decent. He's not going to be top half of the league by any chance, but he could be decent.
Yeah.
But we do need to at least have that competitive aspect if JT leaves and have some other options we can go to as well.
Mhm.
And then outside of that, yep, obviously nothing happened with JT.
Uh-huh.
If anything would, I'd be in a lot better mood here while talking about the Phillies.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then the rest of the league, specifically the NL East, Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco to the Mets for a handful of good prospects. That's going to hurt. It's really going to
Uh-huh.
hurt because, well, I hate the New York Mets. Can't stand them.
Uh-huh.
They're terrible. But them picking up Carlos Carrasco and especially Francisco Lindor, it's going to kill us, and it might kill us for a while. My God, I mean, that's just great talent all the way around.
Yeah.
And you had Schwarber going to the Nationals. They had a rough season last year, but they were missing a few pieces for most of it. So they're building back up. They're dangerous. The Mets are dangerous. The
Mhm.
Braves are dangerous. Apparently, the Marlins are dangerous. And
Yeah.
and we're just
Yep.
here, like, oh, here's a minor league deal.
Yeah.
Here's an
Well, that's what I
invitation to spring
well, that's what I
training.
mean is that,
We're
you've
we're
got
not
this.
making these blockbuster moves though because we don't have the money to. We can't because our
Mhm.
owner refuses to make that money. We can't
Uh,
make these blockbuster deals and take on a big contract or anything.
yeah. Yeah. I don't get it. I mean, at this point I'd be thinking like we got to make an investment of some sort, right? Like, you're going to have to lose money for a little bit. As much as our owner is afraid of doing this, you're going to have to lose money for a little bit
To make it.
and build up the team, and then once the team gets good and this COVID thing ends, then all of a sudden you actually have people in the stands to watch your games, and then you can make your money back easy, But it it uh it pains me to hear that, like, oh, here's a good player that we could use, and they're going to literally not the worst team in the league, but the worst team like for them to go to for us, our rivals, or our worst enemies. That hurts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it absolutely does, and this has unfortunately just been a constant trend for the last few years. You
Mm,
know, these teams around us in our division are building up heavily, uh,
yeah,
and we're just not able to commit to that as well.
yeah. You think
I
we're gonna be stuck at the bottom for a long time then? Because the Braves have been good forever.
We've been good for a few years.
Yeah. Uh, like you said, Mets are good. I mean, freaking the Marlins are getting good.
We it's tough to call right now.
Hmm.
Like I think we're going to be competitive, but it's going to be this very well could be the best division in baseball, and we could end up at the bottom of it. We could end up in the third spot. I don't see us winning the division any way I look at it right now,
Uh huh.
because and I love the young talent that we have. I
Yeah.
absolutely love the young talent, and I believe in the young talent. But we do need those few other pieces. We just got to add a few more pieces. Who knows? The bullpen might have a rebound year, and that'd be huge.
Yeah.
Bullpen has a rebound year. We go from last place in the division possibly to probably like third. Maybe Reese Hoskins starts having a better average. Maybe we play Scott Kingery some more. Maybe he's having some input. Rice is being Bryce. Maybe the starting pitching is doing good. You
Hmm.
know, maybe we win 90 games this season. but it's going to take like 105 to win this division.
Yeah.
This division is going to be absolutely remarkable.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know what to do because, with not spending that big money, we saw other teams are willing to. Liam Hendriks signed a 3-year, $54 million deal to go to the White Sox. And, that's a guy I wanted, but that's not money that we have. It's
Yeah.
not money that we're willing to spend and put out.
Yeah.
So, as it stands, we're just going to have to be happy with these smaller minor league deals. And that's just
Yeah.
how it is.
We're in a bad position and we can't really do much to get out of it right now.
Yep. Just going to have to rely on that young talent all breaking out at the same time.
Yeah. Well, it happened for the Flyers, so.
Who knows? Who knows? They'll make the playoffs this year, I swear. Just like I've been swearing the last few.
Yep. A man can dream. All right. Well, that's about all the news coming out of Philly. We'll be back next week for some more Flyers, Sixers. Hopefully, we don't have much to talk about for the Eagles, but on the assuming that this head coach search isn't going to go well, but maybe we'll be surprised. Maybe we'll get the people we need.
Hopefully.
All right. Well, until then, see you, everybody.
See ya.